I don't think it's any secret that DoorDash has been caught stealing driver tips in the past. But what you may not know is how Tony Xu, the CEO of DoorDash, attempted to apologize to drivers. This is just one of many tweets Tony put out while attempting to extinguish a 5-alarm fire. He made statements like, "It's clear from recent feedback that we didn't strike the right balance," and "We thought we were doing the right thing by making Dashers whole when a customer left no tip." To outsiders, these may seem like genuine statements, but the reality is, he's gaslighting anybody who has never driven for DoorDash. To recognize this, you would have to understand how drivers are paid. So, how are drivers paid? It's simple. It's just base pay plus tips. DoorDash would pay us the base pay, generally in the neighborhood of $2 to $3, while the customer would leave us a tip. Hopefully. Essentially, what DoorDash was doing was using part, or even all in some cases, of the customer's tip to cover their base pay. For example, let's say the base pay was $3 and the customer tipped $5. The driver should have been paid $8 total. However, DoorDash wanted to keep their $3 contribution. So, instead of paying the full $8, they manipulated the customer tip to make it look like they actually tipped $2, leaving the driver with $5 instead of $8. Alright, please help me understand how that's making drivers whole. That's straight up theft. Not only is this not fair to drivers, but it's also not fair to the customer. DoorDash was lying to them about where their money was actually going. Fortunately, it's not all bad news. DoorDash is finally starting to get what they have coming to them. Admittedly, I'm a bit late to the party for this to be a breaking news video. So instead, I'm going to talk about what's happened so far and talk about where I see it leading to in the future. DoorDash has now been sued successfully 3 times for stealing driver tips between 2017 and 2019. Guess better late than never. Actually, this is a good place to pause. Let me know in the comments section if you were driving between 2017 and 2019. And while you're down there, press the like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Let's continue. Now, as far as I'm aware, DoorDash didn't steal tips in some markets and spare others. No, they just stole tips. Do you see where I'm going with this? California, Illinois, and New York all sued DoorDash for a combined total of approximately $30 million. Now, if I'm being completely honest with myself, I really don't think 3 states taking action against DoorDash is going to make a dent in their bottom line. But when you start to think about the fact that it's only 3 states and we have 47 left to go, now we're talking. Imagine if all 50 states sued for this practice. Now that could put a dent in the Bentley. At the very least, it should concern their shareholders. But that's not the only thing that should worry their shareholders. We now have multiple states that have done a deep dive clearly into arguably one of DoorDash's worst practices, stealing tips, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. Let's talk about another shady practice involving tips. This time, hiding tips. Now, if you ask me, we're some weird bastardized version between an employee and an independent contractor. But the apps claim we're independent contractors because it saves them money. Sure, I have no problem with that. Let's roll with it. The thing is, true independent contractors never have to guess at things as important as their pay. You should know exactly how much a job is paying every time. DoorDash is notorious about hiding tips, therefore forcing a driver to guess if that order is actually worth taking. Depending on how long you've driven, you may or may not remember the fact that Postmates and Uber would hide tips on the offer screen, and we would only know how much we made after the delivery was complete. Let me ask you this. Would you work a job if you had to gamble on how much you were going to earn on your paycheck every month? Let's put it in perspective. Would you personally take an order that was showing $6 going 10 miles? Probably not. But what if DoorDash had hid most of that tip and it was actually paying $20 for 10 miles? All of a sudden, that order might be worth taking. Without that information up front, the drivers lose out on income because DoorDash wanted to be shady and not be forthcoming with information. I'll bet a lawyer could argue that DoorDash hiding tips results in us losing pay. I mean, it's unlikely we'll see a lawsuit for this specifically, but people have sued and won for far less. Let me know in the comments if you think DoorDash hiding tips would hold up under legal scrutiny. So far, we've talked a lot about tips, but I want to transition to something even worse. Unjust deactivations. When a W-2 employee is fired, if they were full-time, they may even still get benefits once their employment has come to an end. In other words, they still have legal protections that we don't. And if they were wrongfully terminated, they could fight it out with HR, some local or state agencies, and if things got really bad, a lawyer. But us, we often get deactivated without warning, recourse, or cause. Not to mention, oftentimes, DoorDash themselves don't even know why a driver was deactivated. In fact, many deactivations happen automatically, decided by an algorithm. You should never call customer support only for them to tell you they don't know why you got deactivated. Now, imagine you're a full-time DoorDash driver making, say, $500 a week. That's $26,000 a year. Gone, just like that, overnight, with no warning. On top of that, any money that you have sitting in your Dasher account that hasn't been moved or cashed out is gone. They're not going to pay that out. But let's take this a step further. I want you to take a moment and think what would happen if prosecutors actually stopped and paid attention to just how many drivers get wrongfully deactivated. Imagine how much money collectively that would cost DoorDash if an attorney sued for back pay. I can't even begin to calculate that number. Now, personally, DoorDash is one of my, if not my lowest paying app, but I still make anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000 a year. Now imagine a full-time driver that relies on DoorDash exclusively. If I were a DoorDash executive, the thought of unjust deactivations actually being investigated would terrify me. All right, we've reached the last topic of this video, and it's the one that I'm the most passionate about. DoorDash restricting access to the platform based on your acceptance rate. Chances are, most of you don't drive in California or were even driving when Prop 22 passed, but that debate then brings up something I want to talk about today. Employee versus independent contractor. Prop 22 was passed in 2020, effectively classifying gig workers as independent contractors and not employees. This is something that both Uber and DoorDash wanted, along with many drivers. Why? Because the alternative would mean that drivers are employees, and employees cost them a hell of a lot more money. Independent contractors, much cheaper. Now, like I said before, a lot of drivers, myself included, would prefer to be viewed as an independent contractor because it means we can control our own schedule and decide what jobs we take. Or at least, that's how it's supposed to work, but DoorDash has other ideas. As an independent contractor, you should be able to decline every single order that hits your phone if you want to. I mean, sure, you wouldn't be paid for them, but you also shouldn't be punished for it. Outside of New York City, DoorDash is the only app, at least on a large scale, that thinks that they can manipulate when you drive based on your acceptance rate. You can sit there, like I do, and wait for the map to turn red, or you can schedule in advance, or you can accept enough orders where DoorDash views you as a valuable driver and therefore lets you drive whenever you want. What's the reward? You get to drive whenever you want, something that you just get by default everywhere else. But let's be real, that's not how it's supposed to work as an independent contractor. If you're required to keep a certain acceptance rate to be able to use the app whenever you choose to, are you actually an independent contractor, or are you an employee without any of the benefits? I'm of the opinion that DoorDash treats us like employees when it benefits them, and independent contractors when it doesn't. All right, here's the thing. I've talked a lot about prosecutors analyzing various aspects of DoorDash's business. But if I'm being honest, that kind of terrifies me too. And here's why. I've spoken to lawmakers. Hell, I've lobbied in person. And believe me when I say they don't understand what it is that we do, what we want, or what we need. If they tried to regulate gig work, they very easily could make things worse for us, and that is the God's honest, brutal truth. Sure, businesses need to make smart financial decisions, but not decisions that teeter on criminal. Well, there you have it. There are my thoughts on what DoorDash should be worried about and what prosecutors could look at next. If you've made it this far, I'd like to thank you, but you may want to stick around because I'm about to answer questions from my comment section. If you haven't done so yet, please do consider pressing the like button and subscribing to my channel. My name is Zach. Take care. All right, let's get into the questions. Joey said, interesting. How do you pay when doing a grocery shopping order? So that is a good question, and I wanted to address this on a video for those of you who don't regularly do shop and pays. This is actually changing. So on both DoorDash and Uber, there is now something where you scan a QR code when you go to like self-checkout, or if you like go to like an actual cashier. You can have them scan the QR code as well. And what that does is it basically tells the like the checkout terminal thing, I believe that's the technical name for it, that you are a DoorDash driver and that the order is prepaid and you don't owe them any money and that it should be tax exempt and yada yada. So if it doesn't give you the option for a QR code, you still can use your red card, like the debit card that DoorDash sends out. That'll still work. Yeah, so I mean, like mostly it's just QR codes now. So it's kind of convenient. It's one less card we have to stick in our wallets. Also, it's worth mentioning, if you never got a red card from DoorDash or a black card from Uber, you can request those in the app, and you can immediately add those to your Apple or Google wallet. So I had to order a new red card recently for DoorDash, and I was able to just add it on the spot to my Apple Pay. So when I would take an order that didn't have the QR code, I could just like double tap my pay button, pay and be on my way. So hope that answered your question. Brando Now 82 asked, and if most drivers are I think platinum, who gets the high pay offer? Okay, I know where this is going. And why does DoorDash say that $4 to $5 1 mile order is high paying? Okay, so there's a couple different elements here. If I'm understanding the question correctly, if if there's like 5 drivers waiting around and all of them are platinum in their status, who is DoorDash going to send that order to first? A lot of you are going to disagree with me, but it's going to be the driver who is going to get it done the quickest. Chances are it's going to be the driver who is closest to the restaurant. So I hover around a 1 to 2% acceptance rate on DoorDash usually, and I still get offers, and I still get reasonable offers. It's just that in my market, Uber pays more, like a lot more, usually. And so does Spark. Recently Grubhub, but that's a whole different story. Really, it's just going to be whoever's going to get it done the quickest. That's my personal prerogative. I've been at it 5 years, and nobody's been able to change my mind on that. So the second part, why does DoorDash say a $4 to $5 order for 1 mile is high paying? So this goes back to when it used to be called the, it used to be called the Diamond Program, but originally it was called the High Pay Order Program. And what it was if it was paying at least $2 a mile, from you to the restaurant, if I remember correctly. So like I could be picking up like right across the street here. There's a restaurant called Little Tokyo right across the street. So that's like a quarter of a mile from where I'm sitting right now. And if that order were paying $3, right, the restaurant to the customer at least didn't matter in the past. I don't know if they've changed it since, but they at least used to consider it high paying, even if it was only paying $3, because I'm only a quarter of a mile to that restaurant, and that is technically over $2 a mile. So they haven't been as transparent with the numbers on the program anymore. I remember looking about 6-8 months ago for some information on the high pay order program, and the website had scraped almost all of the numbers. So my answer is speculation, but it's an educated guess. So do with that what you will. Gabby says, new sub here. Thank you. Appreciate you. Also a new Dasher. I came to your video to find out where the customer's address is before I accept the order. Gabby, that's a great question. And on the DoorDash app, it's actually very simple. When you get an offer, on the offer screen on the map, just tap on the house and it'll show you the customer's address. Unfortunately, there's not a way to do this on Uber anymore since Paris shut down, but that's how you do it on DoorDash. Just tap the house on the map and it'll show you. All right, guys. Well, if you leave a question in the comment section, I may just read it in a future video. But till next time, take care.